Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good morning. It is Monday morning, 6 o'clock here in Calgary, Alberta, April 26th, and I'm happy to be here. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. We're on for 30 minutes. It's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. I hope you all had a nice weekend. I know I did. We just went a little bit too fast, and I just feel like Monday rolled around a little too quick. But that's generally the case, so... And I didn't get anything I needed done, which included laundry, but that's okay. We got the rest of the week for that. So yeah, we're talking about child sexual abuse, preventing child sexual abuse. That's what we were talking about last week in the mornings and Monday through Friday, and we're going to continue on this week as well. And it's from an article I found from stopitnow.org, and just like it sounds, stopitnow.org, and that's a great website, and I highly recommend everybody check that out, especially if you have children, because it's there's a lot of information on there that I didn't see on some of the other websites regarding child sexual abuse. And the actual name of the article is called Prevent Child Sexual Abuse, Facts About Sexual Abuse and How to Prevent It. And so there's some really good information here, and we were looking at, why do we need to learn about sexual abuse of children, and that in 90% of child sexual abuse cases, the child knows and trusts the person that sexually abuses them. It's whoever your child is around all day, that's who has the potential to abuse your child sexually or physically or in any other manner. What exactly is child sexual abuse? This article is great. Child sexual abuse includes touching and non-touching behaviors. So they go through and they list off all that. We already went over all that. Behavioral symptoms of possible child sexual abuse, and then we were looking at why do people sexually abuse children, right? And also, can people who sexually abuse children stop it? And what about children who sexually interact with other children? So see, there's all kinds of great information on here. And the behaviors of the different age groups of children, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and if you see something that's not acceptable, then you might begin to wonder whether or not they are being sexually abused, or if they're seeing something on TV that they shouldn't be, or interacting with an adult or an older youth or an older child, sexually. So this is the stuff, it's so important to be aware and on the lookout, because child sexual abuse is a real problem. 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused, whether it's touched or abused in some way before the age of 18. So that's way too many. And I tell you that the only way we're going to stop it is, just like Stop It Now, that organization, is to talk about it, is to start becoming educated about it, aware that it's happening, and how to prevent and keep your children safe, and how to prevent child sexual abuse. So that's why I just want to continue on talking about this and want to finish the article. On Friday, this is not a professional show. I always say this on all my shows. It's very important. I believe that truth is 100% necessary, and without truth, what do we have? You know what I mean? That's why child abuse is allowed to continue. That's why child sexual predators are allowed to live behind a whole bunch of lies. And abuse really is all about hiding and lies and untruthfulness in every single way. So I have to say that, I'm not a professional. I don't hold any professional certificates or counseling certificates, therapist certificates. I'm just a person, a private citizen who pays to do this blog talk show every month, because I decided back last November that I wanted to start talking about child abuse. I was actually on Blog Talk Radio listening to another show called Voices of Hope by Gail Crabtree. She's awesome. She's very much an advocate for against sexual abuse of all kinds, whether it's against children or adults. And so I was listening to her show, and I just clicked on Create Your Own Blog Talk Radio Show, and because I was just interested to see what it was all about. And before I knew it, I had a show all set up, and I thought, hey, why not? Just be one more voice out there to continue talking about abuse of all kinds. And because I fight for child rights, I stand up for child rights. I'm a child abuse advocate. I advocate for children against abuse, and I that's my whole life's mission. I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, and I'm in between courses at MRU right now. And just because I can't afford to go, they're not expensive, but they're a little bit more than my pocketbook can afford right now. So I'm still studying online. I still do all the research and study, and I thought, why not? I'll just bring the information that I'm finding out to people and share it with people. And also, I'm a survivor of child abuse myself, every kind of child abuse you can think of, and physical, verbal, emotional, mental, psychological, sexual, and spiritual. So I know what it's like for these kids out there, and my life was spared, thank God, but our family was destroyed by domestic violence and abuse, and also child abuse, and so. Right really under the noses of a lot of people who didn't even realize what was going on because my parents are so manipulative. My mother was, and my dad is still very manipulative. And it's unfortunate because there were some people that did kind of know and could have stepped in, and then there was other people that did know full out and didn't do anything about it. So unfortunately, that's the way it goes. But I just really think that the whole reason why child abuse is allowed to continue to go on is because society loves to push it under the rug. They love to make it quiet. They love to keep people quiet about it because nobody wants to hear about it. It's an uncomfortable topic. It's not something people want to talk about on their lunch breaks. It's not something people want to talk about after work. It's not something people want to talk about at all. But you know what? The reports in the paper are what bother me. Looking at these reports of the paper and on the news of these children losing their lives and being killed and murdered at the hands of caregivers and parents, mainly parents, that bothers me, and I think that we need to start talking about it instead of just pretending it's not happening, because it is happening. And I really think it needs to be more mainstream, and I think that there needs to be more attention on it if there's ever going to be a change. And I knew this growing up. I knew this as a young adult, and I just chose to get involved about 3 years ago because I had finally done enough healing and let a lot of the hatred and anger go at that point, and decided to be proactive about it and start talking about it and start dealing with it. And that's what I wish every single person would do, because the only way we're going to make any change is for everybody to get involved. It's going to take all of our voices to change this world. It's going to take all of us to make these changes. So I'm just stepping in there and to try to do my part, and whatever it is I can do. I know, like everybody else, resources are limited, time is limited, but whatever we can do in whatever small way, it does make a difference. It does help. And these abused children out here today, they don't deserve to be abused, and the ones that have gone before didn't deserve to be abused, and the ones that will be abused and killed tomorrow don't deserve that either. So we need to really work on society's view on child abuse, get more funding in place, and the only way to get funding is to get the government to realize that, hey, this is what the public wants. The funding and the lawmakers, the laws are only made and put in place because the public demands it. So, if everybody stands up and says, look, we want change, we want to stop child abuse, and we want to prevent child abuse, more action will be taken and more money will be put into it to try to make a difference for these children out here, right? So important. So that's why I'm doing this show. It's not a professional show. You have to listen at your own discretion. If the topic of abuse bothers you, please turn the show off. I talk about every kind of abuse you can think of, and if it makes you uncomfortable, it's your discretion. You have to listen to what you feel comfortable listening to, so that therefore it would not hurt my feelings if you just turn off the show. And if you're a young person under the age of 18, I ask that you have an adult or somebody who's older, like a mentor, okay it, that you are allowed to listen to this show, because there's so many I've met a lot of crazy psycho child, abusers and child sexual predators in my lifetime, and I tell you what, you do not want to fall prey victim to, you don't want to fall victim to one of these child sexual predators or crazy people out there who are trying to get a hold of children, and because your life could be ruined completely, or you could lose your life. We see lots of reports in the paper lately about children who meet people that they meet in chat rooms online, and they say that they're their 12 or 14-year-old buddy who loved to skateboard, and they meet them after school, and it turns out to be a child sexual predator, and then their lives are ruined or they're killed. So you don't want that to happen to you. If you're under the age of 18, especially really young, you get somebody to tell you that it's okay that you listen to this, and also get them to look at what you're doing online, because it's so important. You could save your life, you could save your friends' lives. You cannot just play around with your safety. Safety is a huge issue because there's a lot of psychos out there, about 750 million to be exact. The FBI has a great website regarding how to stay safe online for adults and children, and there's some interesting statistics on there regarding how many child sexual predators are actually prowling the internet looking for children to get a hold of. So I'm just telling you, never give out your name, never give out your address, never phone them, never have them phone you, and don't tell them where you go to school. Do not give them any personal information about yourself, because they will track you down and they will try to get a hold of you. And that is scary, but you know what? It's happening. It's the truth. And no sense in living in fear. Best thing to do is become educated. Education is the key. If we're going to save our children's lives, if we're going to help keep ourselves safe and our children safe, education is the key. So we're going to get right onto this article here. We left off on Friday looking at developing a safety action plan for your family. Then we already kind of went through most of it, but it said, take responsibility. Adults must watch for any inappropriate behaviors between adults and older youth and children, because the young children just don't recognize those types of behaviors, and they wouldn't be able to protect themselves. So it's up to the adults to watch for this, right? Stay attuned to your children's use of technology, for instance, the internet, like we were just talking about, email, instant messaging, webcam use, peer-to-peer, social networking sites, chat rooms and stuff, right? So important that parents educate themselves and really, it says here, establish clear, firm guidelines and stick to them on what is appropriate in the home, in your own home, and how to keep your children safe and yourself safe. Right? It says show in your own life how to say no. It says teach your children that their no will be respected. Because if you just tell your kids to always listen to the adult, if you just say, because you want them to behave and stuff, and so you tell your kids, if your teacher or an adult tells you to do something, you do it, no questions asked, right? Trying to be, the super mom, right, or the super dad, and making sure they're behaving themselves. Well, if kids get that ingrained in them, and they get in trouble a few times for not listening, and then all of a sudden you put your foot down and you tell your kids no, you will listen and do what every single adult tells you to do. The next time an adult tells your child to do something, some sick adult out there tells your child to do something sexually with them, the chances of your child saying no will be pretty slim, because you've put it in their head that they have to do every single thing that an adult tells them to do. So you want to be really careful about that, and you want to make sure that kids know that if someone's doing something inappropriate, they have the right to say no, and they should tell you about it. So important. There's a lot of ignorance out there. It's not a lot of people's fault. They just don't know. Because they're just not aware, and that's why primary prevention is so important, right? That's what I do, is getting the word out, getting the news out. It's all about education, awareness, and prevention of child abuse, right? Because if people don't know what to be aware of, then obviously they don't know. And if they're not educated about what's going on out there, then they wouldn't even know to be looking out for this stuff, right? And it's happening, and it's happening all over the place. And in order to just keep yourself safe, you really have to be aware of what's going on and get the education behind it. How to tell your kids how to say no if someone touches them inappropriately, and how to get help. Tell your children to tell someone right away that it's okay to tell somebody, and that there's certain things that kids have to listen to, yes, that an adult would tell them to do, like a teacher, but then there's other things that they need to say no to. You know what I mean? So really, so important, right? We can't just skip over that. Kids need to know that they have that they need to learn to say no to someone who might try to sexually abuse them. So it's so important. It's a set and respect family boundaries, and that's important, right? All members of the family have rights to privacy in dressing, bathing, sleeping, and other personal activities. He says if anyone does not respect these rights, an adult should clearly tell them the family rules. That'd be like someone in the family bursting in on a young teenager who's having a shower, that sort of thing, and then won't leave the room. That's ogling, right? That happens all the time. People are really sick, and you have to really watch out for your family and notice when these inappropriate behaviors start taking place, and then put a stop to it. It's unhealthy, and actually it's not good. So you want to make sure that you are looking out and paying attention, right, for what's going on in your home. And so speak up when you see any inappropriate behaviors, right, and handle the situation, because they may need help to stop these behaviors, and if you don't intervene, it'll just continue on, and it just gets worse. It says report anything you know or suspect might be sexual abuse. And I think that's just, if you suspect abuse of any kind, whether it's sexual abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, any kind of abuse, it's against the law, and you have to report it. And really, these children are counting on us to be their protectors. And if their parents and caregivers are not doing it, and you know that a child's being abused, then you have to step in and do the right thing. Actually, it's the law, and report it, right? Because you could save a child's life. We could save a child's life by doing that. So important. And where we left off was this one section right here. It says, be receptive with both the adults and the children in your life about their difficult issues. Help them get comfortable talking with you. Show them that you will listen to anything they have to say, even if they talk about something embarrassing or something they've done wrong. Yeah, it's so important for kids to know that they can trust you as a parent. If they think they're going to be in trouble and you're just going to yell at them, or you're going to embarrass them, or you're just going to ignore them, then they won't talk to you. But if you tell them, hey, I care about what you're talking about, I care what you have to say, and I care about you, and I don't care what the topic is, you want to talk about it, we need to talk about it, whether it's drugs or whatever, sex or anything. It should be able to be talked about with your parents. Who else? You know what I mean? Like, the parents really should be the ones that the children should feel safe enough, and young people should feel safe enough to talk to you about this stuff, but generally they don't, because the parents lash out, or they just tell them they don't want to hear it, go to your room, or whatever, right? In my case, I'd just be slapped around and told off and thrown out of the house. So you want to make sure that you tell your kids that you're okay to listen to whatever they want to say, and even though you might not like it, you might not appreciate it, at least you can learn how to talk about it and get it out on the table and learn how to deal with it, right? It says use the proper names of body parts. Just as you teach your children that a nose is a nose, they need to know what to call their genitals. This knowledge gives children correct language for understanding their bodies, for asking questions that need to be asked, and for telling about any behavior that could lead to sexual abuse. We're supposed to be teaching our children the proper names for everything, because this way, if they are being abused, they can tell you exactly what's going on. They can tell another adult exactly what's going on, and it's something that people should be comfortable with. And there's ways, and there's all kinds of information out there for parents who have a hard time not knowing what to say and how to talk to their children about their sexuality. You know what I mean? So important, because kids are counting on you. And that's what I find, that's a huge issue between parents and kids. There's really some real lacking poor parenting skills out there. And the thing is, I'm not a parent, I can imagine, but I grew up in a home where there was just no parenting skills whatsoever. So I know, how it goes for a lot of people. And my parents were born in the 1920s. They were brought up in abusive homes. They didn't have any parental guidance themselves, and so when they started having children, they had no clue. They were very ignorant about everything. They were also very abusive towards each other. So there was no normal behavior, and they certainly wouldn't have talked about anything normal or tried to protect us, because they were hurting us, right? So they didn't want to try to protect us from anything. They were the ones that were causing the abuse, right? So therefore, even normal parents who just are having a hard time talking to their kids need help, to get this information. And there's Little Warriors is a good website for that. There's all kinds of neat information on there regarding how parents can learn how to talk to their children about sex and about sexual abuse and about their bodies. And it's a great website, littlewarriors.ca. It's just like it's spelled, just like it sounds, LITTLEWARRIORS.ca, littlewarriors.ca. Great website. And then it says, be clear with adults and children about the difference between okay touch and touch that is not okay. So like good touch, bad touch type thing, right? For younger children, teach more concrete rules, such as talk with me if anyone, family, friend, or anyone else touches your private parts. Also, teach kids that it is not okay to use manipulation or control to touch someone else's body. So see, there's all these behaviors that, kids, if you don't tell them or talk to them about it, they won't know. And they won't know that it's inappropriate. And then, if we don't tell them, it just sets them up to be an easy target for someone who who's looking out for that kind of thing, who's a child sexual predator, right? So important to teach our children, right? And then it says, explain to the adults and children you know about the difference between a secret and a surprise, and show them how secrets may make kids unsafe. Surprises are joyful and generate excitement in anticipation of being revealed after a short period of time. Secrets exclude others, often because the information will create upset or anger. When keeping secrets with just one person becomes routine, children are more vulnerable to being abused. And that's, because people are always, these child sexual predators are always like, well, no, we got to keep this our little secret. It's our little game, right? And, if children are used to playing that already, they're used to keeping little secrets with their friends, then, they already know how to do it. They know what it's about. And so quite often they won't tell anybody because they think it's just a game and it's just a secret that has to stay between them and whoever's sexually abusing them. And so it's so important to explain the difference, between a secret and a surprise, and let kids know that the secrets aren't always good, and that, actually they're really not good. Secrets are not good because they hide things that people need to know about, right? Make it clear that children will be supported when they request privacy or say no to an activity or a kind of touch that makes them uncomfortable. And, they need to learn how to say no appropriately, right? To stuff that they need to say no to, which is sexual abuse, right? So, about the only way you can do that is to allow your children to make some decisions and say no, and that their no will be supported, and that, that they should be saying no to anybody who's going to touch them in an appropriate manner. Give kids permission to tell anyone they trust if they feel scared, uncomfortable, or confused by someone's behavior toward them. And that's important because, like I said earlier, if parents tell their kids you have to listen to every single adult and don't speak up when they're and don't say this, I know, I've heard it all. And it's to keep kids in line, but by doing that, you're setting up your child to be abused, and you have to give your kids permission to tell anyone they trust if they feel scared, uncomfortable, or confused by someone's behavior toward them. That means, if they were at a daycare or something, or if they were someplace where, staying at someone's home, that it would be okay for them to tell someone they trust if they're scared or something, or if someone's doing something inappropriately to them, right? So important. It says make a plan. Create a family safety plan that is clear to everyone and easy to follow. And www.stopitnow, this is a little download that you can get, www.stopitnow.downloads/safetyplan.pdf. So there's a safety plan there on this website, and you can pull it up. Make sure that as adults you know how to challenge each other when you see any appropriate behaviors. And it says, list who to talk to when you see something you are unsure about, and who to call if you believe there is need to report sexual abuse. Teach children about what to do and who to talk with if they are sexually threatened or touched by someone. So a safety plan is awesome. Safety plans are great. For domestic violence, people who are suffering in an abusive home, especially in a domestic violence situation, domestic abusive situation, you want to have a safety plan. And so you could even have a safety plan like these guys developed for child sexual safety to prevent child sexual abuse, right? It's just so important to have a safety plan, and that way everybody knows about it and they know how to get help, So important. Instead of just saying, oh, we're not talking about that in this home. We don't talk about these things, right? Well, then you're setting yourself up for a lot of heartache and a lot of problems later on, right? Because education is the key. 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 6 boys will have been sexually abused in some way under the age of 18. So your child could be one of those 3, and if it's a girl, and if it's a boy, 1 in 6. So this is happening. This is the stats, and that's only because of the stats. That's the ones that are reported. There's so much abuse that is not reported, right? And it could happen, and you need to be aware of that. And it's generally somebody the child knows. 90% of the case, they know and trust this person. The other 10% might be a child sexual predator they meet on the street because they wandered off, or they were taken from you as a parent. That's just 10%. The rest is people that the child knows and trusts. So you want to be very, very much aware of that and keep your children safe, right? It says make a list of people and organizations you can call for advice, information, and help. Check the resources at the end of this booklet. Even if you do not have children of your own, you can be a resource about how to report and how to get help for everyone involved. If you know that a child has been sexually abused, be sure to get help for the child quickly so the harm can be healed. And just like, I mean, I don't have children. I lost my child about halfway through there. 4.5 months along, I lost my baby, and I didn't have any more children. And it's not that I didn't want children; it just didn't happen. But I thought, I was abused as a child. I know what it's like, and I thought I can't sit here any longer and not say anything and not be involved. I can't just sit around and just be, oh well, who cares about them? I survived, I made it. I thought, no, this is ridiculous. I need to be a voice regardless of whether I have children or not, because I know what it's like to be suffering out there as a child with no hope of, any restitution really, because my parents never apologized really for their behavior. My dad kind of did. He sort of tried to be apologetic about the way that he behaved, but my mom never once apologized for her behavior and never once took responsibility for the abuse that she put on all of us. So, I know what it's like, and it's horrible. And so I thought, yeah, it doesn't matter that I don't have children. I just want to get involved. You don't have to have children to get involved, because, we all need to stand up. Every single one of us need to get involved and try to help save these children from a life of misery and pain. And it's just so important, right? So, yeah, that's why I'm just happy to be able to do this. And we'll continue on here. We're looking at physical warning signs that a child may have been abused. Does a child close to you have unexplained bruises, redness, or bleeding of the child's genitals, anus, or mouth? And does a child close to you have pain at the genitals, anus, or mouth? So is there unexplained bruises, redness, or bleeding around their genitals, anus, or mouth? Is there pain at the genitals, anus, or mouth? And genital sores or milky fluids or repeated infections in the genital area? I'm telling you, that's a warning sign. And if your child comes to you and talks about pain, and you just think, well, what could that be? Or, you just blow it off and you're like, oh, well, who knows what happened there? And you don't question it, that's a real problem. Right, because I was sexually molested as a child. I went to my mother and told her that I was in some pain, and my mom told me that it was, and I told her what happened. I told her who was doing it, and she told me that it was my fault, my problem, and that she wasn't going to deal with it, and I was going to have to deal with it, and I was going to have to wrap myself up in a blanket and try to deal with this myself. And basically that was the end of the conversation. Well, she was so abusive that I just dropped it at that point. It's really horrible. If a child, comes to you and tells you they're being abused, you better listen to it, because kids don't make this stuff up. They don't understand sexual behaviors between adults unless they see something that they shouldn't be seeing, or they're involved in some sexual abuse that they shouldn't be, some child sexual abuse that should not be put on them. You know what I mean? Kids don't make this stuff up. So don't let your kids watch porn, because if your kids are watching porn, they're going to come up with all kinds of stuff. You might think they're being sexually abused because you see the signs or whatever, because they're just mimicking the TV. But I'm telling you, do not allow your kids to watch inappropriate behavior. They shouldn't know about sex. What kids should be kids, right? They have plenty of time to be adults. Kids should not know about sex. So that's why if your child knows a lot more than you think that they should, you better start questioning it. And if they come to you in pain and talking about pain and somebody's doing this to them or touching them, you better pay attention to it, because they are probably most likely being sexually abused by someone in the family or friends or whatever. So someone around who has access to your child is sexually abusing them. 1 in 3 and 1 in 6. 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 6 boys. That is not a joke, folks. Get online, start checking it out, and get the facts, get educated, and save your child from a lifetime of scars and trying to heal from child sexual abuse, right? It's so important. Kids are counting on us. They're counting on you as a parent, and they're counting on every single one of us to raise our voice and get involved in this, right? It says if you said yes to any of these examples, bring your child to a doctor or emergency room. A doctor can help you understand what may have happened, test for sexually transmitted diseases. Then if you have any questions about these or any other signs and symptoms or see behaviors that concern you, please call Stop It Now's confidential toll-free helpline at 1-888-PREVENT. And call 9. I don't care if you have to call somebody. Call 911. You know what I mean? Start getting on the horn. You suspect abuse, boy, you better report it. It is so important. And we got about a minute left. So I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children. You can check out their website. We have a great website, and there's lots of information on there regarding child sexual abuse and all types of abuse on there. Great information. There's a child abuse handbook, and it's a free PDF download. It's full of all kinds of great information, statistics, and signs and symptoms of every kind of abuse you can think of at http://dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com. And join us tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 p.m., Dreamcatchers Talk Radio at blogtalkradio.com. That's www.blogtalkradio.com/Dreamcatchers. We're going to be on tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for half an hour. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll be back on tonight, 9:30 for child abuse prevention, and human rights abuse prevention is up to us. And just take care, everybody. Have a great day, and make sure that you look around at the kids in your life and make sure that you are looking out for their behalf. They're really counting on it. They need us to look out for them and make sure that they're not being abused. It's so important. And if they are, do the right thing and report it. Okay, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.